Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again so much for our time together. It's a beautiful week this week. Tomorrow will be Candlelight Communion, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Come early and park next door in the Pearl. We'll have all the parking, several hundred slots there opened up, and both the entrance and the exit ramps coming in off of Taft Avenue and General Luna to make it easy for you. We take care of all the parking, but it's just easier for you to park there, especially when we're doing the quick back-to-back services. And come early because it's always full. Candlelight Communion is one of our highlights of the year. Let me talk to you for just a minute today as we close out this year and we begin to look at next year about your attitude toward God. A little word called respect and a little word called love. In Psalms 145, it says he fulfills, verse 19, he fulfills the desires of those who fear him. He hears their cry and saves them. Verse 20, the Lord watches over all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. What beautiful truths. We live in a world today that has very little respect for God. Even in the Christian community, the fear of God is not something that people like to talk about. Respect for God and why we do things and we don't do things just out of respect for God, and how we live our lives just out of respect for God. But God says if we will be a people that will fear him, and that word literally means respect him, if we will be a people who respect him, he will fulfill the desires of our heart. We always talk about how God fulfills the desires of our heart, but we forget there's some attitudes of our heart that affect his promise. There are conditions to his promises. Now, nobody likes to talk about that today, but God makes promises, but there's some conditions, there's some ifs attached. If we will fear him, he will fulfill the desires of our heart. God has beautiful desires that he's placed within us. And he says, if you'll just respect me, I'll fulfill them. But the second attitude of the heart is even more beautiful. He says, if you'll just love me, if you'll just love me, I'll watch over you and I'll protect you. I like that. I preach a sermon called Just Because You Love Him. Just because you love him. If we will just open up our hearts in love to him, he says, I'll watch over you and I'll protect you. Now, these are beautiful truths, and these are not things that are complicated to understand. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a Mensa IQ to understand these things, or is it difficult to do them? Simply choose to have a heart that respects God. Simply choose to have a heart that loves God. He fulfills the desires of our hearts, and he watches over us and protects us. Now, that's some beautiful truth to think about today.